side of the trig functions. Okay, you see we already have a lot of this equation labeled. We got our sine equation and our cosine equation. We got the same equation really, except for the sine and cosine. Here we have amplitude. That's going to be all in the front of the equation. I'll tell you the height of the graph. Next you got your period up here, those two. So your b value, and it tells you the length of the graph. Next you got your horizontal shift and your horizontal shift, and that just tells you how much it goes left or right, and insiders lie, so if it's a negative it will go right, if it's a positive it will go left. And this is your vertical shift, how much it goes up and down, and it does not lie. Remember that. Okay, next, this is what makes them different. Okay, the sine and cosine is graphing them. Okay, the patterns are middle, high, middle, low, middle, and you got high, middle, low, middle, high. And that will be how you graph them in your equations. Okay, let's get started.
Okay, so what we're doing here is we're just identifying parts of the equation in trig functions. We have our amplitude, period, horizontal shift, and our vertical shift. We're all trying to identify. Okay, so we're just going to break this down in bits and pieces. So your amplitude is always going to be your A value in front of your sine or your cosine, and in this case it's 2. You'll notice there's a negative sign right here, but amplitude is always positive, so just this little piece right there, so the amplitude will be 2. Okay. Next you got your period. Now your period will always be located right here, outside the parentheses and behind the sine or the cosine, but there is no sine right there, or there's no b value, and your period is 2 pi over b. So in this case it's just 2 pi over 1, and that equals 2 pi. So our period is 2 pi. Now horizontal shift is always going to be in the parentheses with the x. Now in this case it's pi over 2, but it's positive, and insiders always lie, remember that. So our horizontal shift is negative pi over 2. Okay, and our vertical shift is always going to be right here. It's going to be outside on the back end of the equation. It's always going to be plus number or minus number. In this case it's minus number. Now this is on the outside, so it doesn't lie, so it's just minus 1. And that is it.
Alright, so right now we're working with graphing trig functions, and so I'm not going to be graphing it, but I'm working with the equation. So what I've done right here is I've laid out kind of the A, B, and the horizontal shift and vertical shift. Now the A is the amplitude. It's always positive, so we're going to go ahead and fill out the 3 for the A. And the B, that's the period, and the parent function for the period parentheses, like that word 2 or anything, to make that a horizontal shift. So we don't have horizontal shift, so it's not shown. But we do have vertical shift. That's always the number on the outside, and that's can be positive or negative. But in this case, it's positive 4, so we're going to put 4 right there. And so basically what you're doing is you're just breaking this equation into bits and pieces. So you have the A right there, the B right there, the horizontal shift is the x value, and your y value is the 4. That's always on the outside. So that's how you lay out stuff right there.
Okay, so now we're going to be introducing some graphing trig functions. So to solve this question, we have the amplitude. It's asking for the amplitude, period, and horizontal shift and vertical shift. So for the amplitude, you have to figure out how high it is from the midpoint of the graph. And so here it starts at 0, and then it goes up 2 and down 2. So then you realize the amplitude is 2 because that's how high it is at the max height. So we solve that. The amplitude is 2. And for the period is how much it takes for one cycle. So then the cycle would be from here, middle, high, middle, low, middle, and then the cycle repeats from middle, high, middle, low. So then now that we have the midway for one cycle, we realize that the cycle ends at pi, so that's what the period is. So there's pi. So for horizontal shift, we don't need it because the graph hasn't shifted, and we're starting from the origin. So there's no horizontal shift, so you just, or there is, but it's at 0. So you just put 0. And vertical shift, same thing. It's starting at 0, 0, so there isn't any. So then that's also 0. So then now, if we need the equation, we have A for the amplitude, so that'll be equals 2 sine. And the reason why it's sine is because it's from middle, high, middle, low. And then for B, it would be we don't need a B since it's already the period hasn't changed. And then x minus c, so then we do sine of x and then minus nothing since there's no horizontal shift, and then plus d. There's no vertical shift, so we just do 0. So that's perfectly fine right here.
Do one more time.
Thanks for watching. Goodbye.